of them have been obviously deeply traumatized by the pogrom on October 7th, but also deeply shocked by everything that's followed as well, and they worry deeply that Israel's international reputation has been deeply damaged by what's happened, not just in Gaza, but what's happening in the West Bank as well with settler violence. If you were Prime Minister tomorrow, what would change? What would change in terms of humanitarian access in Gaza, in terms of challenging the violence in the West Bank?
First of all, if I may use the example that is in front of me, one of the things I would have changed is you've said that the government refused to talk to you, and you thank me for being here. If I was the Prime Minister, I would have talked to you, and the government would have talked to you. The Israeli government was way too busy in victimizing themselves instead of explaining to the world what is it that we do and what kind of enemy are we facing and what are the circumstances that leads to the tragedy in Gaza. And I tell you something more. They have neglected their duty, not only as a government, but also as human beings. And you've mentioned the Jewish congregation in your area. This is also has to do with Jewish morals, to say we are sorry for the loss of life in Gaza. We are sorry for every child that has died in Gaza. Children should not die in grown-ups' wars. And we're going to do our best in order to prevent this. And when it doesn't succeed, because we are fighting a horrible enemy in a very dense populated area that is using his own children as human shield. But when it happens, we are so sorry about this, and our heart goes out for them, and we have to make sure we find ways to be helpful to them. And the reasons that our government has neglected their duty to say so is cynical and political in ways that I find hard to not only to relate to, but to forgive. You see, I tried not to attack my own government in the British Parliament, and couldn't do it because this is so emotional for us all. So this is one. And two, I would finalize a deal in Gaza a year ago. There's no reason on earth this is going on for 620 some days. Not to mention the fact that we are an island economy based on high tech, with an army that is based on the model of reserves, and therefore long wars is a very bad idea for Israel, even strategically, not only morally.
Uma.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Lapid. I don't know if you'll recall, but we had a chance meeting in Hostage Square where we were
Yes.
visiting earlier this year, and you said that it was good to see that Israelis have friends who are coming there to see the pain and the suffering. And there's a lot of us around this table who've been asking the difficult questions for nearly a year now of how we get to a resolution to this bitter and painful war where there has been a lot of loss on both sides. Yesterday, I met with the wife of a hostage whose body has not yet been returned to her. And she said her son is struggling to process the fact that his father is dead. She's had it confirmed, but she said without a body, without a funeral, how can they move forward? She was pregnant when he was kidnapped, but she's now since given birth. She was pleading with me to do everything I can and everything we can on the Foreign Affairs Committee to use our voices to call on the Israeli government to do everything they can to bring the hostages home and the bodies as well. And we know that's a sticking point for ceasefire negotiations, for things moving forward. Why is it, in your view, that Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government haven't put further pressure on bringing the hostages and the bodies home?
I don't know. I've been asking myself this question every morning and every night when I go to sleep, and then every morning again. Why is it that they don't understand that there will be no healing process in Israel before the hostages are back. There will be no healing process in the region before then there will be an agreement to end the war in Gaza. And the only thing that will happen is that we will live again October 7th on daily basis. This is, you know, my sister is a professor of psychology, and she works in the hostage headquarters. She, you know, in my family, like in Jewish families, they send the bright ones to study and the stupid ones to work. So I went to work and she went to study, and she's telling me we don't even scratch the psychological effect on the people of Israel of the fact that our children are still there and the war is still going on. So why is it that our government is not willing to take the extra effort and finish this is beyond my comprehension.
Thank you. The view is really clear from when we were there, even though for a short time. A lot of the Israeli people, the general public, are quite tired of the situation, and they do want this to end. A lot of them have real sympathy for the plight of the people in Gaza, including some of the hostage families that we met who were worried about the women, the mothers in Gaza, and they've seen them struggling without food, without aid, without medical supplies. So there is a feeling in the Israeli public that this has gone on for too long. But the members of the Knesset that we met when we were there were unwilling to even see that point of view, and they were solidified in their mindset. How is the Israeli leadership, the politicians of the day, going to meet where their public are? Because there's no point with the general public protesting or speaking up if those in power aren't shifting anything. How do they get to a different point in this stage?
Well, you since you missed your bus, you missed the part when I was saying.
Didn't miss her bus. Her bus was slow.
The train.
So the thing is, so you missed the part that I said I'm not going to defend the government. And again, it's beyond my comprehension. Why is it they do not understand? And you know what? Why is it when talking to lawmakers from other countries, they don't show sympathy? Why is it that they don't feel it? This is the worst interpretation of Jewish morality. This is the worst interpretation of what is your duty as leadership. And I'm not going to spend my time or yours defending something I deeply believe is hazardous to the soul of my country. This is not what this country is all about. I mean, this is not why my father came here from the Holocaust to build a nation, and this is not why people fight wars, not to become a heartless country. We are a country with a heart in a difficult situation, surrounded by bitter but terrible enemies, fighting the worst kind of